Hello and welcome to part 8 of the Johnny Blender 4000 series. This is David Ward, and when last I left you, we had pretty well finished up the modeling of our little guy here, JB4K, JB4000. But there, as I said, I was going to ponder over and think if there's anything I want to add, and there is a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and add the little light thing to the chest, like I talked about. But I'd also like to add the rubber divider between the forearm and the hand there in the wrist area, because right now the only way it's going to be able to rotate is, on its, is going to be able to pivot around like so. But what if he wants to do a push-up or shake someone's hand, so he needs to be able to bend it this way and then also this way. So if we go ahead and put the rubber gasket boot thing in there, he'll be able to do that. So let's just go ahead and select all of the vertices there on the forearm. Actually, go and turn my screencast on. There we go. And we're going to go Control comma, so we're rotating around the 3D cursor if you haven't turned that back on. We're just going to separate this out. Maybe about right there. And let's see what that looks like. And I'll tell you what, let's straighten that up. And we'll just move the hand itself a little further out. About like so. And now I'm going to take a shortcut, as you know I like to do, and we're just going to select the there we go, select the rubber part of the ankle and Shift D, duplicate that up and use that same thing for the wrist. Okay, so we'll get that in there, get it lined up. Let's go to our top view, remember period. We'll zoom into the selection, so get that there, and scale it down some. And that will probably do us good. There we go. Okay, so I think that even kind of looks a little bit better. He's got more range of motion now. So, now, like I said, on the chest, won't be difficult. Just going to put our 3D cursor over here, Shift A, add a cube. And it's just going to be basically kind of a flashlight type of thing there on his chest. So we'll scale this down, add a couple of subdivisions. Actually, let's just do that subdivide instead of adding the loops. There we go. Add a couple of cuts there, and let's go ahead and get rid of the faces here on this side, like so, because it's going to get glued together there in the middle, just like everything else. So now, select that, Control L, hit our period button so it zooms in on it. We're going to scale it on the y-axis, make it a little thinner, and then let's grab these faces and drag that in a little bit so it's kind of got a lip there on the top. And then I'm going to select, actually I guess just these guys, or select these guys and extrude out like so, and then go ahead and delete that face that it created on the inside part there. And let's add a loop. Actually, let's undo this and let's add a loop right there around the bottom, about like so. And now we'll do the same thing, except we're going to select these new faces right there as well. Okay, so now we'll extrude out a little bit. And then let's go ahead and add a loop up here, just so we can grab these guys. Not that one. Not that one. There we go. And let me turn off the proportional editing. There we go. Get that out. And since it's going to kind of be embedded in his chest, we can kind of go ahead and get rid of these guys there on the back. We don't really need them. I'm going to scale that on the y-axis 0% so it's flat. Okay. And go ahead and get rid of these faces that it created for the middle. There we go. And this is going to be way too rectangular once we get it where we're wanting it. So we'll go ahead and scale that on its x-axis. And then tell you what, let's go ahead and drag it into place where it's going to go. Go to our side view so we can get it out there. Okay. So we'll go ahead and just drag it until it meets in the middle, right there. Okay. So let's go ahead and kind of stylize this up a little bit to match the rest of the body. So we'll just select these guys there, and then I think deselect that guy, and then that, oops, and that guy. Ah, went crazy on me. Just drag it up, kind of give it a nice rounded top. Then we'll deselect those guys. There we go. And grab the edge. Drag that down. And then these guys there on the bottom do the opposite. Drag those down a little bit, kind of round it off down instead of up. Oh, I missed that vertex there, didn't I? There we go. And then these guys. And then we'll just go ahead and drag that one out. Maybe drag it up a little bit. Okay, so let's tab out of edit mode and hit smooth shading again, so it smooths that out and we can kind of get a better idea of what it's looking like. I would like it to be a little bit bigger, so let's select all that and just scale it up. Let's go to our front view so we can kind of see what we're doing here. Scale it up, and then we'll drag it to the side. Maybe we'll just rotate it some, and then we'll grab these guys there on the bottom, drag them down. Okay. You can kind of see what that's looking like. Now the outer edge looks decent. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it up a bit, and then maybe another one inside there. Okay, and now I'm going to put like a lens in here, kind of like we did on the eyes. Have a separate piece there to act as the flashlight. It's not really going to be a flashlight per se, but it will be a illuminated section there on his chest, kind of his power light, I guess, to show that he's turned on. So we'll Shift D, duplicate that, drag that up just a bit to get it separated from the rest of the mesh. Then we'll go and extrude it up a little bit. Go and scale that down, and then add a loop in there, like so. And one thing I would like to do with this, do I want to or not? I'm trying to think. Kind of do like make it sort of a reflector type of light, where it's got a lot of sharp angles in it. If I can select the correct edges. There we go. Okay. So let's see what it looks like. We'll just go spacebar, bevel. Just can hit Control B, I guess. There we go. And just drag our mouse a little bit until it starts working. Not too much. There we go. Yeah, I do like that. So we'll do it like that. Okay. Now a couple more things I want to straighten up. Oops. Wrong part of the mesh. Undo that. Add a loop in there. So get a nice straight edge there inside the opening. And then maybe one right here as well. And yeah, let's add a loop right there so we can add a little more definition above the illumination. Like so. Okay. I think that will do it. Okay, so we are all done with the modeling. Go ahead and save this. And tell you what, this is part 8. I'm going to go save it as part 8A. I like to save multiple versions of the... Once I get the actual mesh done the way I want to, I like to save another version, so if I have to go back and fix something, I'll have the original mesh. So what we're going to do now that we have our copy 8A saved, I'm going to go ahead and apply our mirror modifier. Actually, you know what? Let's not apply that just yet. It'll be helpful once we get into the texturing part to go ahead and add our seams for our texture mapping before we apply that, because we added on like the wrist and stuff on the leg, and then if we don't have the mirror applied, we only have to do it once, and then we would apply the mirror, and it gets automatically copied over to the other side. So that'll save us a little bit. So we'll wait on that. Okay, so now 10 minutes in, let's go ahead and start working on his rig. And before we do that, let's go ahead and name the actual model. JB4K. There we go. Go ahead and save. All right, so now we're going to make use of Nathan Vegdahl's Rigify, at least the base model, then it's going to require quite a bit of customization to get all the pistons and everything working the way we want. So we'll need to modify just the base. I'm not going to actually apply the Rigify script. So the way we do that is go to your user preferences, go over to add-ons, and in the search you can just look up Rigify right there, or if you don't want to search, it's going to be down here under rigging right there, and it'll be right there, Rigify. So we'll check that and hit X. And now all we have to do is let's put our 3D cursor in the center of the scene. We're going to go Shift S and say cursor to center, and it's going to put it there at the very center of the scene, so you can see. So now when we hit Shift A, or yeah, Shift A, and then Armature, we can do the human meta rig. There we go. You're like, oh man, that's really small. Well, you could scale it up like so and get it working the way you want, but it'll cause problems later on when you start doing other stuff, because it's not the actual size of it. That's just the object mode scaled. So we need to scale it in edit mode. So we'll hit Alt S to clear out that scale. Tab into edit mode, and now we'll scale it up. But let's hit period. So we're scaling around the 3D cursor and it gets taller instead of just on that, you know, scaling around that center. So anyways, okay, so now we've got this. Let's do a couple of things so it's going to be easier to work with. Go to our active data there, and well, no, let's see, back here to object data, or the object tab, and under display, there we go, turn the texture to wire, and then on display over here, turn on X-ray. So now we can see it no matter where we're at, and it's a little easier with the wire view rather than solid view, so we don't get it confused with the actual mesh. Okay, so now what we're going to do is start customizing it to fit our model. And the easy way to do that is to jump back into edit mode. Actually, we were in edit mode, I guess. Go ahead and get rid of the right side. We're going to do everything we need to do on the left side and then just copy it over. And one thing you got to make sure when you do this is that you do not have X-axis mirror turned on. We'll turn that on later because we'll need it, but for right now, make sure it's not checked. So we'll go ahead and delete those, and then we'll start working with our rig here to get it set up to properly deform our mesh model there. So let's rotate Control, comma back to the selection rather than 3D cursor. We're going to put our wrist bone right there in the middle, obviously, of the wrist section. But since he only has 3 fingers, we're going to have to get rid of 2 of them. It's part of the human meta rig. It comes by default with 5 fingers. So we'll just get rid of those 2 on the end. Okay, we'll scale this up. That hand, we'll go ahead and drag it down there to the center of where the fingers go. And since his hand is not going to be flexible at all, the only joints we really need are basically the ones that are visible. So we can go ahead and get rid of these connector bones, I guess. So we'll just go ahead and delete those. And since he's only got 1 joint on each finger, we can go and get rid of each of these tips. Go ahead and delete those. All right, so now we'll select this finger here, move it over, scale it up, and make sure that, excuse me, the joint there on our, excuse me, throat's getting dry. The joint there is perfectly lined up between these 2 bolts, because we want it to look like it's rotating around the bolt. So we got to make sure that's matched up pretty close, just as close as you can get it. And we'll drag this tip out here. And then this guy, we'll go to let's go to Control 1, our rear view, and drag that down. And that's about in the right spot. Maybe a little further back. Okay. Drag that up, maybe this down a little bit. Tell you what, let's go to our wireframe view. Just hit Z on your keyboard, and let's rotate our view around until these 2 bolt heads match up evenly. And then we'll grab this joint and drag it down to where it's right there in the middle. Okay. So that's that. And one other thing, if you know me, you know I like to use B-bones rather than the octahedrons. So if we go to our armature display, just go to B-bone. There we go. Easy as pie. They're all a little big, so I'm just going to select them all and hit Alt-Control-S to scale to make them skinnier. Scale them along their normals. Now, when you're doing a mesh, it's just plain Alt-S, but when you're doing a rig or bones, it's Alt-Control-S. So keep that in mind. Okay. So now we need to do the index finger. So let's get that rotated around. Scale it up. Get that joint there. That joint there. And then the tip of it down there. Okay, so let's do the same thing we did on the combined fingers there. And go to our wireframe view and get the index fingers joints lined up. It's pretty close as it was. There we go. Okay, and then this bone here, or this joint here, a little further over. Okay, so that'll be pretty good. And finally, the thumb. Uh-oh, I think I deleted too many things when I did that. Everyone probably noticed and was laughing. Who's the goose? Me. Alright, so we'll rotate that around. And it's easy to fix. All we got to do is just grab the end of it, the tip, and just hit E. Just like when we're mesh modeling with the mesh, it just extrudes out another bone. Okay, so now let's name it accordingly. This one is named F middle 02, and then this one should be index OT. Okay, so this is the first bone, so it's the middle finger, middle 01.L, and then this is index 01.L. And this is thumb 02 because it's, I guess this was the tip and I deleted the inner ones. So, tell you what, let's name this one 01, like so, and then rename this one. Well, it is 02 already, but we just got to get rid of the .001 because it was essentially a duplicate of that one. We were extruding out from that, and it just kept the same name. Okay, so we need to rotate this around. The way you do that in Armature edit mode, you Control R, you twist it, control the rotation, like so, and on this guy. And I need to get those lined up first. Let's rotate them down like so on this guy. And then same thing on the thumb as the others. Line those two bolts up. Uh-oh, looks like they're skewed. That's not good. Okay, well, we need to jump onto that model and get those two bolt heads fixed up. Control L, and we'll scale them along their normals, hopefully. No, it's not going to work that way. I guess we'll just have to go to View, and I'll tell you what we can do. Just go ahead and delete those. And then we'll grab the ones off of the index finger. Shift D, duplicate those over. Let's go to our solid view so we can see a little bit better, and get those lined up over there. Just drag them down. Get them situated. Rotate them to where they're lined up evenly on the sides. There we go. Get that one. Looking at this one right here right now. So get that one situated. And then C, get our selection painter. Deselect that one by holding down Alt as we do it. And just drag this bolt head back there. So now we have, good. There we go. So now, as we were doing before, tab back into edit mode there and go into our wireframe, and now we can get that lined up evenly and get that joint centered up as it should be. And there we go. Okay, think that's good to go now. You know, one thing, I'm gonna drag these out just a bit further, have the actual pivot point be on the rubber part. There we go. Okay. So moving right along, let's get the elbow situated now. Oops, grab the model instead of the rig. And let's look, the elbow needs to rotate probably about right there. So let's put our joint right there. And then make sure we get the shoulder joint and drag that up. And that's going to be kind of like on the fingers, right there inside the rubber part. So about right, maybe, yeah, about right there. And then we don't really need the shoulder bone, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Okay. Everything good to go, good to go. Let's grab the rest of the model here, aside from the arm, and drag that back so we can get it lined up. There we go. And let's get the neck where it should go, about right there maybe. And then the head bone will be way up here. Rotate that around. And one thing that I like about bee bones is you can control their size without affecting their, you know, their influence on the rig. So just for visual sake, I would like to make the head bone bigger so it looks like a head bone rather than just an extension of the neck, which I guess is kind of what the head is, or the vice versa. But anyways, same thing like we did earlier when we scaled them all down. Control Alt S and just scale up and make it bigger, like so. And then say you're doing a human or something like that. I think I probably covered this before in other tutorials, but you can do this, you can make this elongated. So Control Alt S and then only on the Y-axis, and you can make it like so. So that's kind of a good way to get away with not having to do a bunch of custom bone shapes and everything to tell what bone is what. That's obviously the head, so there you go. Do the same thing on the chest. Control Alt S, make that a little fatter. And on the hips, I like to do it on there as well. Control Alt S. Okay, and then just for visual sake, I like to make the forearm bone a bit bigger. Okay. Apologize for keep on clearing my throat in your ear. Apologize, sorry about that. Get that joint lined up about right there, and then maybe the hip bone about right there. Let's look what it looks like in the front view. A little bit over here, and then we'll need to drag the knee over to about right there, and then the foot bone, drag that to there, and then we'll have to drag the ankle up into the rubber area, like so. Okay, and then the toe needs to come forward. We'll need to get that joint lined up just like we did on the fingers, even with the visual hinge there. Drag the whole bone up there, like so. Okay, then we'll drag this up to the end. And now we can, like I showed you on the head and the chest and hips and everything, Alt Control S to make it a little bigger. And then we'll do that again, Alt Control S, and then only on the X-axis now, so we can get that nice toe shape. So do the same thing on the foot if you like. There we go. And looking good. Let's make sure that when this rotates, it's going to, if we hit 5, we can go into perspective view, but that doesn't help very much today. Well, we can probably edit that once we get the rig done and test it on the model. So, okay. Kind of running short on time. The next section is going to be a little more complicated. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and cut part 8 now, and in part 9 we'll get in and start adding all the extra rigging that we'll need for the pistons and things, and yeah, and then get all the inverse kinematics and everything like that set up, and then we'll copy it over to the other side, and the rig will be all set. So yeah, that's going to be it for part 8. Stay tuned on part 9. Like I said, we'll go ahead and try to get the rig finished up. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in part 9.